Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, leftists, progressives, sports fans, and social radicals, and welcome to another edition of Not Another Sports Show, a radical look at the world of sports, Left Sports Radio, a weekly news hour highlighting the various intersections of sports, politics, and radical activism. We are available for broadcast by any Pacifica Radio member network station, college and community radio station, and low-power FM stations, as a number of stations already are. If you can't listen live, we are also available via audio podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and through the Google Play Store. Audio streams of our podcast and video editions are also available as well through tinyurl.com/NAS Radio Video. To contact the show, you can use @NAS Radio Sports on Twitter and Instagram, Not Another Sports Show on Facebook, and use the hashtag NASRadio to get in contact with us. And we're always looking for feedback of our takes, our discussions, and our guests that we have on the broadcast. And we were on the disabled list last week, but we are back with a brand new episode here, ready and raring to go to discuss a whole host of issues with you on this week's broadcast. There's a whole lot to be talking about, a whole lot to get into. And so we're going to get right into that very, very soon with our interview that we were able to conduct with activists in Tokyo, Japan, about their resistance to the 2020 Olympics. But first, we do want to give a short shout out to Colin Kaepernick, who tweeted on the 4th of July, quote, "How can we truly celebrate independence on a day that intentionally robbed our ancestors of theirs? To find my independence, I went home," close quote, and then attached video of his trip to Ghana. And it's always amazing to me when people said, see, we're kind of worried that he's not totally focused on football because he took a trip to Ghana and he's made these kind of political comments. Yet you have athletes who are posting videos of themselves getting drunk, athletes of themselves talking about their, ridiculously dumb exploits and things that they're doing during the offseason, and no one wants to bat an eyelash and ask, are they concerned about, their focus on the league, or is that something that's concerning to you, whether or not we want to keep them as a player? That the focus on this has entirely been political the entire time, and the frames that we set these things up in is one that highlights the political nature of Colin Kaepernick still not having a job. But we're going to jump straight into our interview that we were able to conduct recently with the Tokyo-based group Hangorin no Kai. They are literally translated anti-Olympic group. And they spoke with us last week about the recent events in their opposition to the Tokyo 2020 Games and what's happening on the ground in Tokyo. And so we want to give a big thanks to Hangorin no Kai as well as to Yuko Tonahira for her translation work in making this call from New York, Tokyo, and here in central Illinois possible to have happen. If you'd like more information about Hangorin no Kai and their efforts, they are on Twitter at Hangorin no Kai. That's HANGORINNOKAI, or at Hangorin Demo, HANGORIN_demo, on Facebook at page.no.olympic2020, and their website is hangorin.tumblr.com. And so we're going to jump straight into this interview that we were able to conduct with the anti-Olympic group resisting the 2020 Olympics, Hangorin no Kai. Of Hangorin no Kai, an anti-Olympic group in Tokyo resisting the 2020 Olympic Games, and we also have Yuko Tonahira, who will be providing translation services for us. So thank you very much, all of you, for being able to come on for us and be able to talk about this really important issue.
ハンゴリンの皆さんの、今回、とても重要なお話を、共有していただいてありがとうございます。
So, when did your group begin organizing against the Olympic Games?
五輪に、反対して、活動を始めたのはいつ頃でしょうか。
2013年の1月に始めました。それが東京都が招致活動をしていた頃です。
So we started organizing around the January of 2013. That's exactly when the city of Tokyo was campaigning to become a host for the 2020 Summer Olympics.
And what have been some of the major issues for your group to oppose hosting the Olympic Games in Tokyo?
2020年の五輪に反対するにあたって、主な、問題点、五輪における問題点というのはどういうものでしょう？
まずたくさんあるんですけれども、主にもう具体的に、生活が脅かされている貧困者への排除、特にホームレスの人たちの排除が、もうすでに招致活動から東京都の招致活動から行われてしまっていて、そこはすごく大きいなと、世界中で起こっていることが大きいなと思っています。あと他にはまた学校教育の中でオリンピック教育っていうのが、組み込まれてしまっていて、もうそのオリンピックはすごく素晴らしいものとして、そういった排除の問題とか、他問題になっていることを覆い隠すようにですね、学校教育の中で、頭から体から全部オリンピック化してしまう、街も全体がオリンピック化してしまうようなプロジェクトが、東京都のみならず国のレベルで、行ってしまっているっていう問題だと思っています。長かった？
大丈夫。
ざっくり切っても他の補足があれば後で言います。
Okay. So, of course, there are many issues, but main points that we are protesting against is the livelihood and the life of the people, especially poor people and homeless people, have been threatened because of the Olympics, and it's been happening already since the time of the campaigning to become the host in Tokyo. And another thing is the promotion for the Tokyo Olympics has been kind of included into the school education, and it's a big part of the school curriculum today, especially in Tokyo. And it's been the school children have been told that the Olympic is something great and wonderful, and all the negative aspects of evicting people from their lives and threatening their lives is hidden from school children in the education. And so we think that through these campaigns, both minds and the body of the city itself and have been heavily influenced by and then heavily shifted by the Olympic campaign. And it's not only happening in Tokyo, but on the national level.
Now, you had mentioned evictions, and have there been other eviction issues happening with the games? Very famously, right after Tokyo was announced to host the games, in the States, in the English-speaking press, we had the story of Kohei Jino, a Tokyo resident who was evicted in advance of the 1964 games and is now set to be evicted again in 2020, but they kind of kept it as an isolated case. What has been the issue with evictions, especially for the poor?
ですね、はい、住民の人々の排除ということについて聞きたいんですけども、神野公平さんの、が、の住居から、追い出されたという、話はですね、英語の記事にもなって、見かけているんですけども、その彼の経験というのが、なんというか独立した形でただ一つだけっていう感じで焦点が当たって、報道されてたんですけども、他のケースがあったり、なんか他の例という意味で、排除についてもうちょっと、お聞かせください。
歌詞に、
はい、 神野浩平さんの、住んでた、マンションは霞ヶ丘アパートという、都営の公営マンション、公営アパートなんですけれども、もちろんその神野さんはその、住民の一人で、そこには、230世帯の人々が住んでいて、それらの人全ての人が、その公営住宅を、団地ですけど壊すという中で移転をせざるを得なかったという、追い出し立ち退きの問題が、あります。でそれに加えて、その国立競技場の新設による、追い出しということで言えば、その都営霞ヶ丘アパートがあり、あと明治公園の、宿舎の追い出し、国立競技場の周りには明治公園という公園があって、そこに野宿の人が10名前後住んでいたんですけれども、その人たちがその同じ時期に追い出されたということがありました。とりあえず。
So in terms of evictions, that you mentioned Kohei Jinno's story, and he is one of the many residents who were living in this public housing, city-operated public housing near the Olympic Stadium site. And there were a total of about 230 households in the public housing, and everybody ultimately from the buildings had to be evacuated. In addition to that, there are homeless people who are living in a park called Meiji Park. That's also on the site to be turned into site of the Olympic National Stadium. And there were around 10 people who were living in the park, and at the same time, they were also evicted from their homes.
As we've seen with many Olympic Games, especially going back even to 1976, with a number of games going over budget, you have people losing their homes, being evicted, the kind of taking of public space and turning it into private stadiums, and all at the cost that they're going way over budget. Is Tokyo 2020 set to follow the Olympic example of going very much over budget, and are there better priorities for what this money could be used for?
ですね、1976年ぐらいからそれ以降ずっとですね、オリンピックにおいて、莫大な予算がかかりすぎて、それで、そこに住んでいた人が排除され、公共スペースというものが、奪われて、市営の、スペースに変わってしまうという、ことがいろんな場所で起こってますけども、東京もその例に当たるでしょうか。予算がかかりすぎということと、あとそうならば、その、お金をですね他のことにかける、っていうような、意味で、そういう問題点っていうのは東京五輪であり得るでしょうか。
聞いてたよ。
今予算がですね、もう最初招致段階では7000億台で、出してたんですけれども、もうどんどんと、うなぎ登りで、上がって今、1兆、8000億っていうふうに、発表しています。それは去年の12月の時点なんですけれども、まだまだ、上がっていくんではないかっていう、懸念もしています。で、その中で、1兆3000億から1兆から1兆3000億は公費なんですね。そういった、ところが、本当に非常に恐ろしい公費を膨大な数の公費を使ってやっていることの問題っていうのは、指摘 完全に指摘されています。あとですね、東京オリンピックなんですけれども、今や、東京だけではなくて神奈川、千葉、埼玉、あと福島、これが大問題ですけど、福島、宮城、北海道というふうに、東京オリンピックではなくてまさに、国策として、国で行っているというような、大きなスケールになっている。それに伴ってまた公費も、使われているということと、それがどう使われるかっていうのが本当に非常に問題で、東京自体で私たち生活している中で行われていることは、本当に、公共空間が、その一企業なり企業を選択して開発をどんどん進めていく、オリンピックの会場の周辺だけでなくてですね、少し離れたところでも公園がプライバタリゼーションとかになってしまって、ショッピングモールに宮下公園という公園がですね渋谷にあるんですけれども、そこはもはや、オリンピックに向けて、ショッピングモール、その上に公園を作っていくというような、計画が今進められています。でそのためにですね、すごく2020年までに間に合わせるということが起こっているので、言っているので、ものすごい何の、交渉、民主的な手続きを、すっ飛ばして、そういった開発を進めていく、ジェントリフィケーションの、アクセルをどんどん速めていくような状況が起こっています。
ちょっと確認のためなんですけども、その神奈川、宮城、福島、北海道とかそこまで五輪の、競技がその辺で起こるということですよね。なるほど、わかりました。ちょっと今数字をね、7000億とか1兆8000億とかを
正確じゃない。
ドルにしなきゃいけない。円だからドルに。
そうだね、ドルにしなきゃ。
So, in terms of the budget, in the beginning of the Tokyo 2020 planning, the budget that they have proposed, that is being proposed as of December 2016, is nearly 2.5 times bigger than what it was initially proposed, and we expect that to rise even higher. And majority of that the budget comes from taxpayer money. And another issue with the Tokyo 2020 is that geographically, it's not only going to take place in Tokyo, but the games are happening in surrounding prefectures, including Kanagawa, Miyagi, and Fukushima prefecture, where there was a nuclear power accident in 2011, and even Hokkaido, the northernmost island in Japan. So in terms of the geographic location, it's already a national project. And privatization of the public space is happening rapidly in all these places. And this is how all these funds are being spent without any democratic process. And all these constructions are happening so that it will make it on time for 2020. And that is a big issue right now. And an example of privatization of public spaces is there's a park called Miyashita Park in Tokyo, and that park is going to be turned into a shopping mall, but a tiny fraction of that space is going to be used as a park.
Are there other priorities that they'd rather see this kind of mass expenditure and mass public project happening with? Are there other social goods or social services that they'd like to see as something else to spend this kind of level of money on? You're listening to Not Another Sports Show, a radical look at the world of sports, Left Sports Radio. We have been discussing the 2020 Olympics and Olympic resistance with the anti-Olympics group Hangorin no Kai, based out of Tokyo. Special thanks to them, as well as to Yuko Tonahira for her translation work. And we've just been talking about the various issues that they see as vital to causing their resistance to the games. And we're going to get right back into that interview with Hangorin no Kai, the anti-Olympics organization, with translation work done by Yuko Tonahira.
このぐらいのレベルの、予算というのをですね、五輪に関係している開発のために使われるよりも、日本社会で、他の、部分に使われた方がいいという、提案というかそういうお考えはあるでしょうか。使われるべきだみたいな。
私たちが初めオリンピック反対と思ったのはやっぱり東日本大震災があってまず被災地の、生活の立て直し保障が第一優先だと思いましたし、原発事故の、収束にどれだけかかるかもわからないのにオリンピックを招致するのは絶対おかしいというふうに考えましたしまた私たちの東京都は病院を減らしたり公立の病院統廃合、東京都立の病院を統廃合して減らしたり国民健康保険料が上がったり、ものすごく福祉にかかる予算をカットしてオリンピックやろうとしています。増やすどころかカットしてオリンピックをやるこういうことに私たちは、最初から反対してきました。聞こえたかな。
So one of the reasons why we started protesting against the Olympics is that the fact that we have experienced in 2011 the Great Eastern Japan earthquake and the subsequent nuclear disaster in Eastern Japan. And we have thought that the reconstruction and the recovery of the lives of the people who are affected should be the priority. And without the resolutions in sight, no projects like Olympics should be happening in Japan. And we also have also been looking at the decline in the healthcare system in Japan. And in Tokyo alone, a lot of public hospitals have been merged and closed. And there's a lot of downsizing happening in healthcare system. And the cost for the national healthcare insurance have been raised. And so all these public funds are being cut in instead being spent for the Olympics. And that's how we see the problematics of the Olympics.
Well, they're absolutely correct in seeing those as better uses of public money than hosting the games.
やっぱりそう、公共的な、お金がですね、こういうふうに使われるべきだという、皆さんの会見は本当に正しいと思います。見解。
Many Olympic host cities also see an increase in what police and the government's able to do in the name of security. I know on June 16th, the ruling coalition passed what they called the Anti-Conspiracy Bill, which they say is meant to prevent terrorism during the 2020 games. What does this bill allow the government to do? And was the Olympics coming the main reason this bill was able to get passed?
ですね、五輪が開催される、場所ではですね、安全のためにという名目で、警察と、政府の監視機関、が、強力になってしまうという傾向がありますけども、 本では、6月16日に、共謀罪、反テロリズム法というんですかが通ってしまって、そのことについてちょっと聞きたいんですけども、まずこの法律というのは、どういうふうに機能していくことになるのか、もう一つは、もしオリンピックがなかったら、この共謀罪というのは通っていたものなんでしょうか。
はい、共謀罪、これはですね、テロを理由にしてますが、事実上テロを阻止するというよりは、政府の国策に反対したり抵抗する人たちを、黙らせるためが目的の法律です。具体的には、何か犯罪をしようとしている、それを事前に取り締まるという名目で、逮捕ができたり、プライバシーを除いて、通信傍受したりですね、そういって犯罪を起こす疑いがあるということで逮捕できてしまうという、これまでの推定無罪の原則を超えた、法律ができてしまった。これで無限大に逮捕が警察は可能になるという法律です。で、専門家は、この法律はテロの防止はもちろんオリンピックの、警備とも実際は関係ないと言われている法律が、オリンピックは狙われるという、イメージのもとに、あっという間に成立してしまいました。どれだけこれが異常かというと、この共謀罪は、治安維持法、戦争時に、人々を黙らせるために、使われた思想弾圧法と全く同じものである、にもかかわらず、オリンピックを守るためという、名目でこれまで、3回廃案になってきたような法律であるにもかかわらず今回、強行に、しかも非常に強引な手段で、手続き上強引に採決されてしまいました。やっぱりこれはオリンピックを成功させるという、ためにというふうに人々が信じ込んでいる結果だと思っています。ひどいかな。大丈夫
です。ちょっと待って。
大雑把。
So this anti-conspiracy law was so-called anti-terror bill before it was passed. But what it is actually is to be used against whoever oppose the state, basically. Whoever oppose the government projects. This law would allow them to oppress anybody prior to any so-called criminal activity is concerned. And so the base is based on the presupposition that the Olympic will be. What's outrageous also is that this law, this law was passed based on the presupposition that the Olympics will be targeted. And the people who supported the bill was hoping to make the Olympics successful. And so based on the sort of fantasy and based on the assumptions and the scenarios and things might happen at the Olympics, this bill was rapidly forward and ultimately passed at the end, and which was actually had as a bill in the past, but have been rejected 3 times in the past. And the concept of the bill is actually also based on the pre-World War II law that was in Japan called Maintenance of the Public Order Act, and it was used to police the thoughts and any anti-government thoughts among the people, and it is exactly the same law that today.
Is that law set to go away after the Olympics is over, or is that going to stay on as a law after 2020 and the games are done? You're listening to our interview that we conducted with the anti-Olympic group based out of Tokyo, Hangorin no Kai, and big thanks to Yuko Tonahira for her translation work in this. We've just been talking about their resistance to the games, the on-the-ground work that's happening there, what they're seeing most recently, talking about a bill that was put in place to add to the powers of the government and add to the structures of the government to be able to push back against activists and other people that are deemed as undesirables. And so we're going to get into the last parts of our interview with the Tokyo-based Olympic resistance group Hangorin no Kai, and special thanks again to Yuko Tonahira for her translation work, putting this together for us with a call that went from New York to Tokyo in a group call to make this happen.
この共謀罪はですね、オリンピックが終わった後も、やはり日本の社会に残り続けるというものなんでしょうか、それとも、それまでのものというふうなんでしょうか。
はい、残り続けます。オリンピックで成立させて、今後オリンピックに対しても批判が起こると思いますが、そういった意見も、封じていくための法律だというふうに考えます。
オリンピックレガシー。
Yeah. We think the law is continue to exist after the Olympics. And we also think that the law will be used against people who are critical of the Olympics themselves.
And we've seen that kind of policy happen in many other host cities, that these security laws don't go away after the games are done, and it's largely an excuse to increase the government's powers and abilities. Recently talked with some activists working in Los Angeles in California, trying to resist the possibility of the 2024 games, and we had a very long conversation about the laws they put on the books back in 1984 in advance of the games, and how those laws didn't come off the books, and it ended up increasing the militarization of their police force. So what they're seeing is not really an isolated incident, it's happening in Olympic host cities across the world.
そうですね、やはりこの他の五輪の開催地でも、安全保障という名のもとでね、ポリシーが、政策がどんどん変えられていって、結局は、最終的には、五輪が起こった後もその政策っていうのは残り続けて、政権の、力を強力化することにつながっていくという問題がいろんなところにあると思うんですね。で最近ロサンゼルス五輪に反対しているグループの人たちと話したんだけど、1984年の LA 五輪の時にね、通った、法律っていうのがやはりこの地元の、警察だとかを、軍事化して、しまうという軍事化することができるという法律が、やはりその時に通って、残ってしまったというものがあるんですね。なので、東京で起こっていることはやはり東京だけのものじゃなくて、世界的に、いろんな場所で起こっているもの。
In a lot of past Olympic Games, most recently with Rio, the organizers pledged that there was going to be a legacy. In Rio, it was supposed to be cleaning up a number of polluted bay areas, which never got done, and also planting a large number of trees. only which a fraction were actually ever planted. Have the Tokyo 2020 organizers announced what their quote-unquote legacy is likely to be? And if they have, are they anywhere close to possibly meeting whatever legacy they say is going to happen?
そうですね。最も最近ではリオの例がありますけども、このオリンピックの開催、主催者の方からですね、オリンピックの遺産というのですかね、遺産と呼ばれるものっていう名目で、例えばその海岸を掃除してきれいにするだとか、木を今度から植えますとか、こういう、オリンピックの開催を機に、から後に待っても残るような遺産を、残していくっていうことが、主催者が言ってますけど、実際にそれが、実現することはなくって、口での、文句になってるんですけれども、東京五輪の主催の、方でもそういう、例えばこういういいものを残しますよみたいなふうに言ってるものありますかね。それとそれが実現されるような、可能性がある。
すいません。都立の学校で働いているものです。はじめまして。
はじめまして。
お願いします。いわゆるレガシーと言われているものなんですけれども、学校教育の中で、ここ数年オリンピック教育というものが、押し付けられてきていて、その中で、ボランティアマインドとか、それからスポーツ思考とか、そういう心の中に残るレガシーっていうのはオリンピック教育の、なんていうか狙いの中にこう盛り込まれている。それはなんていうか、私はそれはそれで非常に恐ろしいなと思っていますし、あとやはり木を植えるとか海岸の掃除とかいわゆる環境関係のこともやっぱりオリンピック教育の中に組み込まれていて、私の勤める学校では伝統的にこのオリンピックの招致される前から伝統的に年に2、3回地域清掃という、いわゆる地域の奉仕活動っていうのを学校にやってるんですけれども、それがなんていうかこう地域をきれいにするオリンピックのなんていうかオリンピック教育にこう位置づけられるということがあったりとか、あとオリンピックにかかわらず、国民体育大会とかインターハイとかっていう、大きなスポーツイベントでそういう大会に全く関係のない子どもとかの開催地の、住民とか動員でやる変な伝統みたいなのがあるんですが、そういうことを、東京ではないですけど確か千葉だったと思うんですけれども、花を行って街をきれいにしておもてなしをするというそういうふうなことが、実際に、起きてるし東京でも確実に行われると思います。すいません、なんかピントが外れてるかもしれませんが、いかがでしょうか。
OK、とりあえず最初のここだけ訳しますね。ありがとうございます。Okay, so in terms of the legacy, I work in a public school in Tokyo, but there is this thing called Olympic education happening all over public schools in Tokyo. And through the education, they are cultivating something that's called volunteer mind and sportsmanship. And these slogans that is promised to stay in the minds of children. I think in itself, it's a very terrifying thing that kids at school are being told all these slogans. But another thing is that there have been environmental projects related to the Olympics, like you mentioned, planting trees and stuff like that. And there are tradition of local volunteer work based in certain areas that happens like 2 or 3 times a year. Involve school kids and local volunteers to clean up the local areas. And as something that's related to the Olympics, although it was already sort of like a local community project that was based in the area. And also, they not just for the Olympics, but every time some sort of national sport events happen, there's been a tradition of involving local school kids who would take flowers and either like plant flowers or like hand flowers and use flowers to sort of express the excitement of the sport events that's happening in their local areas. And so that kind of event been happening surrounding the theme of the Olympics. Not exactly in Tokyo, but the Chiba, that's right next to Tokyo. That's what I've been observing around the theme of like the legacy in the Olympics. We're also looking to be in solidarity with other cities throughout the world who are opposing the Olympics. And we would like people to share ideas about protesting the Olympics and ultimately overturning the Olympics. That's what we want to do in Tokyo. And we also want to involve in international gathering and any kind of international communication surrounding the anti-Olympics and sports in general. So please us up.
Well, thank you very much for taking time out of a very busy schedule to come on the show with us. This afternoon is when we're going to be airing this broadcast.
今日はね、皆さんお忙しい中、お時間を割いてお話ししてもらって本当にありがとうございました。私のね、番組、こっちの午後の時間になるんですけども、そこで、公開することになると思いますね。それ、都度また連絡しますね。あと、アメリカで、今まで成功、五輪を跳ね返すことに成功している、グループなども、知り合いにいるので、Eメールなどを通してまた連絡させてください。
ありがとうございます。
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was our interview that we were able to conduct with the Tokyo-based anti-Olympic group Hangorin no Kai. And big thanks to Yuko Tonahira for her translation work in that as well. If you'd like more information or to get in contact with them, they are available on Twitter at Hangorin no Kai, HANGORINNOKAI, or at Hangorin Demo, that's HANGORIN_demo, on Facebook at page.no.olympic2020 and at hangorin.tumblr.com. You've just been listening to Not Another Sports Show, a radical look at the world of sports. We've just aired our interview that we did with the Tokyo-based anti-Olympic group Hangorin no Kai about resisting the 2020 games. They're coming up in the ensuing minutes that we have left on this week's show. We'll be analyzing a number of sports stories since we're on the disabled list, and we're going to get right into it, talking about some basketball news, as there has been a whole lot happening, and we've got a lot to talk about. In basketball news this week, the Big Three tournament structure has been set up. It's a new 3-on-3 basketball league being run by rapper Ice Cube. And one of the players in the league is former NBA star Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. And if his name sounds familiar to some of you, it's because he was involved in the anthem protests in the 1995-1996 season and was largely drummed out of the league for his head-bowed prayer action during the national anthem. Abdul Rauf had converted to Islam in 1991, and during the 1995-1996 season, he was not standing for the anthem, but instead was staying in the locker room during the national anthem. When reporters noticed that he wasn't present for the national anthem, he told the reporter, quote, "You can't be for God and for oppression. It's clear in the Quran. I don't criticize those who stand, so don't criticize me for sitting." The NBA suspended him for one game because the NBA actually does have a rule that says you actually have to stand for the national anthem. And he eventually made this deal with the league that would allow him to stand, but that he would pray during the national anthem instead. During the next season, the Denver Nuggets then traded him to the Sacramento Kings, where he got a whole lot less playing time. And after the 1998 season, he went unsigned and finished his career playing overseas until retiring in 2011. It should also be of note that his house was burned down in 2001, that people didn't quite forget about his national anthem action, and his house was burned to the ground in 2001. When he was asked about his current action as this, first couple of games in the Big Three tournament structure, he again took to his head-bowed praying action and refused to not do that he was going to continue his action against the national anthem, against, the ideas of systemic oppression that have been part and parcel of this country that have still not been addressed. And no retreat, that he continued to do it. When he was asked, he said, quote, "I don't feel like much has changed, if anything at all. Black folks are still being victimized disproportionately in the penal institution. It seems they're definitely disproportionately being shot and killed by policemen. Just overall, the position that we're confronted with, and also being a Muslim, look at what Muslims are going through in this nation, I don't think really anything has changed by and large." When he was asked if now free agent quarterback Colin Kaepernick was being blackballed by the league, he said, quote, "The same thing happened to me," close quote. And we can't let that kind of stuff happen again. Athletes should have the space to come out and be political and not pay with it with their professional careers. And it's really heartening to see Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, years after the fact, still standing by his ethics, still standing by his morals, doing what he believes to be right, still taking that stand, and still using his sports platform to be talking about these issues, that he hasn't taken a step back. He hasn't decided to walk any of this back. He hasn't decided that this was going to be a situation where he was simply going to walk everything back to try to make people feel happy, or to try to market this new project, that he was going to stand up for his convictions. And largely, no one had a problem with it. No one really had a problem with it. In unpaid college sports news, Baylor University is back in the news, and trigger warning, we are going to be talking about issues of sexual violence and sexual assault in this story. They've said that there is a, quote, "ongoing pending investigation," close quote, over the sexual assault scandal at the school. And the judge that is involved in the criminal case, they said that they're being investigated by the NCAA as well. They've asked the judge to keep their communications with the NCAA away from the women who are suing the school over the scandal. That they are suing to keep information away from the women who are suing, saying they have to turn it over to the NCAA, but they somehow don't have to turn that information over to any of the women who are alleging massive wrongdoing in this scandal. And it reminds me about the end of May, when they tried to argue that they shouldn't have to turn over documents from the independent review by law firm Pepper Hamilton that they hired. And this is largely feeling just like the same thing of, sure, we have these documents, but we don't feel obligated to have to turn them over. Sure, we have these things, but we don't feel obligated that we actually have to give them out or turn them over or make that information publicly available. The lawyers for the women are suing the school. They asked for records from the Pepper Hamilton law firm review to get turned over, of course. They refused, saying it was attorney-client privilege. And as the motions in court noted, quote, Baylor chose to structure its relationship with Pepper Hamilton as one of an independent investigator. And it only attempted to revise the relationship at the time Pepper Hamilton's findings and conclusions to become public came near, close quote. And Pepper Hamilton didn't leave a paper trail. Baylor representatives were told not to take notes, so there's very little paper trail to actually turn over. And in late March, Baylor's interim president said that they were hired as investigators and not lawyers, but now that it's convenient to say that they're lawyers and not investigators, that's what they're doing. Because nothing says like taking responsibility and ensuring that the institution, is going to be held responsible when you can try to avoid any kind of real accountability. And so Baylor is trying to avoid having to turn over information to more plaintiffs in their cases. They've also settled the first lawsuit with a student. The student had alleged that Baylor University had created a, quote, hunting ground for sexual predators, close quote, and that her 2015 investigation was mishandled by the university, that they severely botched the investigation into what happened to her. This is the first suit that has been settled. It came after the fact that they could not get the case thrown out of court, as they tried to do, saying that because it happened off campus, they were somehow not responsible for it. They've settled 3 others that didn't file any kind of lawsuit, so this is the first lawsuit that's officially been settled, but they still face at least 5 more Title IX lawsuits on this issue. They still face at least 5 more Title IX lawsuits on this. And to close out, we are going to get into our segment on other sports news. In other sports news to close out this week's broadcast, we've got news about the FIFA corruption report. Yes, the FIFA report about corruption that was written in 2014 but never actually released publicly has finally been released publicly. The report had detailed in hundreds of pages, 430 pages to be exact, the alleged corruption in the handing out of the 2018 and of the 2022 World Cup bids. They only released this information because a German newspaper, Bild, got the document and started releasing parts of it to the public. This was written and turned in 2014 by Michael J. Garcia, and despite Garcia's request to release this publicly, they decided to keep it secret and issued a 42-page summary, which prompted Garcia to get mad and was a factor from him resigning from FIFA. Well, the 430-plus page report really does show that the Russian bid committee, for instance, did nothing wrong, but that's because there also was a lack of evidence that they were not able to get the computers used by the Russian bid committee because they were leased computers and the owner subsequently destroyed them after the bid process was over, that the leased computers were destroyed. So it's not necessarily that nothing happened, it's that they couldn't amass evidence to necessarily show that something happened. And we have also got a really big news story about Venus Williams that certainly wanted to get into on this week's show as new information came out showing that she was actually not at fault for the traffic accident that caused the death of another person. This was something that Venus Williams was asked about at Wimbledon. She started crying and broke down during the interaction at the press conference that was happening. And that was because the police broke protocol and issued their police report out saying that she was at fault, despite this still being an investigation that they said a final determination was not done. Well, despite that coming out and a whole lot of people piling on Venus Williams, including asking her questions like this at Wimbledon about how it feels to necessarily be responsible for the deaths of somebody in a traffic accident, video was released this week showing that she was actually not at fault, and the investigators have had to retract their statements saying that she was actually in the intersection legally before the car crash. Palm Beach Gardens police spokesman Major Paul Rogers said that the video evidence caused them to have to reevaluate their conclusion, but that the investigation is still underway and that a final determination wasn't done. Well, if a final determination hasn't been done, why did you release information to the press saying she was responsible? Why would you, if it's not going to stop you from releasing the information publicly the first time, don't come out here with these weasel words of the investigation is still underway, because it really fits into the frames of blackness being criminality, the frames of black people being in the wrong, being the criminals, being the problem, that those frames are being reinforced here. It's institutionalized white supremacy. It's the institutionalized frames of whiteness in full effect here. And are we likely to see any kind of accountability from these officers or any kind of responsibility for this? Probably not. And that's largely in part due to institutional white supremacy, where we're happy to believe all sorts of negative things about people of color, and the fact that people constantly and consistently give police the benefit of a doubt despite video evidence to the otherwise, even though, we know that people want to believe police, even when they're caught overtly either being incompetent or at worst lying. In this, they're either at best incompetent in doing the investigation, or at worst they were lying and messed up and breaking the protocol. We're of course going to try to talk about this more when we have a little bit more time on the air and on broadcast to get into this with you. And to close out today with a little bit happier story, the Confederations Cup. We've talked about FIFA's new rules of the warning, temporarily pausing the game to deal with issues of homophobic or racist abuse, and then suspending the game outright if none of those things worked. Well, we talked about how the previous issuance of the warnings worked to stop the behavior in the stands at one point. During the game between Mexico and New Zealand, 2 fans were chanting homophobic slurs, and they were noticed by the FIFA monitors, who stepped in, removed them from the match, banned them from Mexico's next match, and suspended them for 15 days from any event, and fined them $250. FIFA's actually getting serious about handling these issues. FIFA's actually getting serious about handling these things. It's shocking, it's surprising, and it's thoroughly welcome to see FIFA start to take these sorts of things seriously. It's really interesting to see FIFA start taking these things seriously. This has been Not Another Sports Show, a radical look at the world of sports, left sports media, a weekly news hour highlighting the intersections overlapping the world of sports, activism, and radical politics. We are available for broadcast by Pacific Radio or our network stations, college and community radio stations, and low-power FM stations, as many already are. If you can't listen live or you happen to miss any of today's show, we're also available via audio podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and the Google Play Store. Audio streams of the podcast and video editions are also available through our site at NotAnotherSportsShow.podbean.com. To contact the show, you can use @NAS Radio Sports on Twitter and Instagram, Not Another Sports Show on Facebook, or the NAS Radio hashtag. For all of us here at the show, this has been Not Another Sports Show, a radical look at the world of sports, left sports media, and we will be back with you next week to talk about sports and politics.